Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 2022 Chicago Latinos in Philanthropy Holiday Social. Really happy that you could all come out tonight. As you know, winter is upon us. And even though things are now open in that, to kind of haul to downtown on a Friday night and to see you all here is a beautiful thing. So thank you for being here. I want to ask just for a show of hands of first-timers. Any first-timers? Well, welcome. Welcome. Any second-timers? Any second-timers in your second event? Okay, no, I won't go down the list. Just wanted to especially thank, everybody's been asking about the food. My understanding it's from Outpost, right?
Mexican eatery.
Mexican eatery, delicious food, and there's plenty of it, so please plan to continue to eat afterwards. And we want to thank the Chicago Community Trust. And Andrea, we just want to, stand up and say a few words.
Welcome, you've already done that beautifully. But I just want to say, we really tried to design this new office to be a gathering place for community, for us, for folks to come together. So it's always makes me so happy when I see it being put to good use in that way. Welcome, make yourselves at home, and really always, if you have things that you want a room like this for, let us know. We're always happy to host.
And tonight, even though we're here to sort of celebrate, the fellowship that CLIP values, right? Why we have Chicago Latinos in Philanthropy. Hello, Ms. Michelle Morales, Fashion So we are here for several reasons tonight, really to be together, right? To be in community, to be con La Familia is really important. It's something that CLIP values. CLIP has grown tremendously. I have been at the Polk Brothers Foundation now for 24 years. Right, isn't that amazing? And when I started, one of the first things I did was I found out about CLIP, and I contacted David Pesqueira, Carmen Prieto, and got to know some of the OGs that are in the room that hopefully you have met. And so, who knew when I reached out to David first, right, that he would become the mentor that he has been to me for the last 24 years. I was only an intern from the School of Social Service Administration, the Crown School now it's called. And so I didn't know I was going to be entering into this field for, right, sort of my career. But David was the person I reached out to, and then Carmen, and they just welcomed me with open arms. So it's really poignant and bittersweet to me that tonight one of the reasons we're here today is to celebrate David's retirement, which is incredible. It's like capital R, boldface, flashing, right? Because folks have retired from this field, but I think in particular, not just in the field, but in the field of Latino grant makers, right? There is no one like David Pesqueira. And so, before David, you come up and say a few words, this is your life. And so we're going to just ask a few folks to come up. And I wanted to start with somebody that I met when I started, again, way back, Marita Conley, right? I had heard of Marita, was like somebody, they were talking about Carmen and David as somebody who was so important to the field. And we're so happy that you're here tonight. And if you could just say a few words.
Oh gosh, you need a microphone. Okay, great. Okay.
1986, I had the privilege of being appointed to run a corporate foundation here in Chicago, and at about the same time, Nick Goodband, who was then head of the Tribune Foundation, I think, right? David, did I get that right? Through him I met David Pesqueira, and David said to me, we got to form something that promotes Latinos in philanthropy. And we're going to meet in your office. You got a big space. We'll meet there. So I'm new, and to me, David is already a guy with great experience. So I said, okay. And not everybody will recognize these names, but among the people who came to these meetings for about 2 years, while the Beatrice Foundation existed, Julie Chavez was one of those folks. Eventually, Josefina, and eventually you showed up at some of these meetings, I can't remember at what time. But I want to share with you what's really important about David, because I look at the sea of faces, and you need to know that there was somebody who was fighting for the vision of what there is today at a time when the Latino population was a fraction of what it is today. Today in this city, of course you're going to include the whole Latino population. If you don't, you miss half of the city, right? But that wasn't the case in the 1980s. But David had the vision thing. I used to look at him and I was like, okay, I'll do what you say, David. But David had a clear vision for where this all had to go. And if you don't have vision, you stumble into the future. So I want to thank you, because you had the vision thing, not me. But it is contagious. And now all of you have a responsibility to go forth into the community and grow the whole philanthropic initiative, either through knowing the policy data or whatever your elevator speech is. And remember David, who was doing it before it was the thing to do, before the population was really mobilized to do what it has done today. So I make a toast to a man who I deeply respect, to our wonderful friend David. Now let's see the good stuff.
Yeah. Okay, well then, speaking of the good stuff, I'd like to invite Carmen Prieto to come up.
That's the one who knows where the bodies are buried.
That's right.
And I won't tell. David. So, late 80s, I was working for a nonprofit that should remain nameless, but I kept coming across his name. I go, man, this dude must be important. And I know I was intimidated by you, and plus I always couldn't spell your name right. Anyways, but then when I came to the Weibo Foundation in 1990, and literally you could count the number of Latinos in philanthropy on one hand, maybe you need one or two other fingers, but he welcomed me. David is the most genuine, authentic, supportive hermano, aside from the 5 ones I have, that one person could have. And as you just said, your vision, you've never stopped in all the years. You just are so amazing, and you've really been about just supporting our communities, not just our community, but all the communities that need our financial resources. For that, I applaud you and love you. And I just want to say, I still am on the CLIP mailing list. And the numbers, I'm just like, wow, 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 there are so many of you. You hold so much power. Use it. Speak your mind. I used to be often the first one to walk through many doors on many committees until I opened my mouth and they said, oh, thank you. But no, I never stopped opening my mouth, and I hope you never do. I love you, David. What can I say? That's all. And I love all of you, and keep going.
I had the pleasure and privilege of being at David's retirement out in Cantini. Right, no G. Cantini. Huh?
Not Cantina.
Right. And so I said things that I needed to say to David then, so you know my love is real and deep for you. And because instead of me, again, going on and on, I would like to give my spot to another OG, Fabio Naranjo.
OG's in the house.
Yeah, you can show the gray hair, right? Actually, I met David Pesqueira way before we all got into this field of philanthropy. This is a story that he and I share in common. I came here in 1979 from Colombia, and I lived in Logan Square. I was going to Northeastern Law University, and I got on a minivan that was going to take us to the Chicano, Latino, Chimexcla, Chicano, Mexicano, Latinoamericano Conference in Ypsilanti, Michigan. And I get on the
Have a few drinks and say that real fast. Yeah, I got my tongue twisted.
and I mix up my kids' names, but I remember them. So I get on this van, and there's this guy, David, and Chuy Negrete with his guitar, and we're singing all the way from 103rd and Commercial to Ypsilanti, Michigan, singing protest songs in this van in 1983, 84, something like that, David. And my goodness, was he opening my eyes about the struggle and how we needed to fight the good fight, right? So anyway, fast forward, 1980, 1988, I was in the Leadership Development Program that MALDEF, the Mexican-American Legal Defense and Educational Fund, put together. And that's where I met Doris Salomon, that's where I met David. He was on the board at the Advisory Council. And after I went through the 20-week training sessions, David began to target me and chase after me and say, you will be perfect to work in philanthropy. You will be perfect to work in philanthropy. And 2 years, from 1992 to 94, no, I kept putting it off. And then finally he says to me, look, a position just opened at the Chicago Community Trust for a fellow in philanthropy, following in the footsteps of Luis Casanova. And he himself had been a fellow in philanthropy here at the Chicago Community Trust. And anyway, he literally dragged me into the trust. I left the job where I was happy, and it's amazing how he just changed my entire trajectory. Went from the trust to the Woods Fund and then MacArthur. So 10 years in philanthropy for me and 10 years with CLIP. And frankly, following in his footsteps to some extent, but also in the shadow of a great mentor, someone that inspired me, mentored me, and who led by example, because he rolled up his sleeves and worked side by side with you to get things done. And there was nothing that was above David. He will take on the job. Heck, we moved chairs together and put tables together to gatherings, right? So whatever needed to get done. And it goes back to the history that he has as a community organizer in Humboldt Park. Again, showing our years. So I have to tell you one funny story, though, that I like about David. I told him this, I was checking him earlier out there, because he was the first person I ever saw in my life that would always carry a clip right here with jalapenos in it. We were at this freaking fancy restaurant in downtown Chicago, the guy would be sitting there. They bring the plate of food, and the guy would pull out a gun or something. He's pulling out his jalapeno.
Well, he has tahini in his coat pocket.
También Dios mío, por Dios, and he would bring out the jalapeno and say, yeah, man, this food is tasteless. You have to carry the flavor with you, otherwise you can't find it. So, anyway, there was a funny story I could tell you. This is who David Pesqueira is, as genuine as they get. He is who he is, and what you see is what you get, right?
That's right.
And I have to tell you, I am so honored that I met this guy back in the early 80s, and then I got to reacquaint myself with him in the late 80s. So when Doris told me that I had to come and say a few words, I just had to.
He said yes immediately.
I just had to. I mean, how can I not? Dude, you're here. I love you.
Latino in philanthropy in the Chicago metro area that was at the Trust, MacArthur, and Woods.
Yep.
There's one, bro.
Yeah.
Oh, because of you, though. That was your fault.
Pues no mereces.
Gracias.
And while I know that there are many others here that I could ask to say a few words, because I do believe that David has probably touched all of your lives, whether it's, you know, sort of personally one-on-one or professionally when we did the cafecito with Julie, which was a really pretty amazing discussion, and Julie could not be with us today. She's another one of the OGs. And so we debated about this thing I'm holding in my hand, but we thought it was just apropos that we wanted to establish the first ever Legacy Award from the Chicago Latinos in Philanthropy. And David, it is presented to David Pesqueira for co-founding CLIP and your many years advocating for Latinos in philanthropy.
Thank you for those kind words. But, you know, the idea is that, you know, no one has all the answers. And it was always about, my organizing taught me a lot. It says, everybody has a loan, right? Everybody has a strength. And it's who you go out to, you know, to make a case, you know, with somebody, say, let's do it, you know. So CLIP has survived and has flourished based on all the people that have been involved. You know, so anyway, oh sorry. So I want to take my 70 years old spirit and just share what came to mind for my remarks, okay? And so you are my relatives. And I really felt what better way to celebrate than to gather like this right before the holidays, and also to, and I like this one, and to after another year of good boda. Because that's what it's been, and that's what it is, and it's not going to change, you know. So anyway, thank you, Andrea, for hosting us, and to my CLIP colegas, past and present, you know, thank you for staying connected and for prioritizing cooperation over competition, you know, coalition over factions and cliques, towards positive sum game strategies. But tonight is all about CLIP, okay? But thank you for the recognition, but it's all about others. And we do have some special recognitions tonight, and they will follow. But it's also a good moment to reflect on how much Latinos, Latinas, Latinxers have struggled, and how far we have advanced in the philanthropic sector since the founding of CLIP in 1986. You know, there's much to be grateful for, and I am, but it's always been a legacy about struggle, persistence, vision, ganas, risk, service, familia, cultura, a legacy from our ancestors and our elders. I believe that. So tonight, this event also reminds me of the Latino Community Donor Awards, a partnership between CLIP and LID, Latinos in Development, for an event that held annually in December over a 10-year period to honor Latino and Latina donors. Unheard of, but it took this damn village. Its success was due to the cooperation, collaboration, and the muscle from LID, Mujeres Latinas en Acción, and the National Museum of Mexican Art, to name a few. Doris, where are you? Doris, Yvette, Carmen, Soko, Nan, you remember the sheer exhaustion and joy in pulling that labor of love event off every year. And you know, it's embedded in my heart, because it was about giving to others and trying to promote giving back to community. So after nearly 3.5 decades, it's fitting to thank those unsung CLIP members who have given their volunteer time, talent, and collective leadership to help build CLIP's unique platform. It's unique because we're the only one of its kind here. But going forward, CLIP will continue its advocacy and convener role on issues impacting the community and the field. You know, it will support professional development of its members and the organization, and with a one team, one fight spirit. CLIP will continue its collegial and collaborative practices that centers community leaders and strategies to help combat racism and advance racial equity, justice, and healing. This I have no doubt. So with this in mind, y con su permiso, I humbly share 3 of my own recognitions tonight. 1, from CLIP's leadership past, I am grateful to these so many other sisters and brothers: Julie Chavez, Doris Salomon, Carmen Prieto, Esther Nieves, Fabio Naranjo, Maria Maruca Martinez, rest in peace, Patricia Sobosan, Frank Varela, Margot DeLay, Angel Zapata, Marita Conley, oh, in the house, Josephine Herrera, Patricia Boero, Patricia Garza, Diana Derige, Juanita Irizarry, Sylvia Salivar, in the house.
Yep.
Alejandra Ibanez, and the current team: Yvette, you know her last name, Nan Silva, Alma Rodriguez, Sandra Ponte in the house, Luis in the house, Roman, Tony Martinez, ¿dónde estás? There you are, bro. Yeah. And Luis Casanova, rest in peace. Vietnam vet. Second recognition, Maria del Socorro Pesqueira. 29 years of marriage. We met when I was...
Say 29 years of hola.
No, I got a better word. Aguante. Wouldn't have it any other way.
That's right.
We met when I was a community grant maker. That's right. I remained in that position for over 35 peachy years, while Soko entered the field as a foundation trustee and now a foundation president and CEO. Love it. But for everybody, God bless and love all of you here tonight. And all Latino, Latina, Latinxers who are in these philanthropic positions of power and responsibility. We support you. Third, Alberto Morales. Where's Beto? Please come up. As an example of clips, as an example of CLIP's movement forward, our dear colega just got appointed as a board member of the Albert Pick Jr. Foundation. And as CLIP's first paid project manager, muchísimas gracias, hermano.
Yeah.
So I'll take this last moment to, no, you stay up here, bro. I'm gonna have Yvette, Yvette, would you come up and just put your, I'm gonna have you face me. I'm gonna have you face me. Okay. Okay. You face me. Come back right there. Put your...
You don't do that, yeah.
Hey.
Just put it down.
Technology, man. Could you put your hands on your shoulder? And we need one more person.
I'm gonna start trying again.
With this First Nations sacred bundle, may the spirit of the indigenous peoples and original caretakers of these lands and their living descendants and those of your own heritage and your lineage offer you guidance with your heartfelt intentions throughout your journey for the people that they may live. Stay there. I'm going to hand this to you 4 times, and the last time you're going to keep it. It's a sacred bundle. Uyope atapi lamayo. Wazi ataki api lamayo. Uyampa tapi lamayo. Itokaga tapi lamayo. Tunkashla. Takuhe chewaki yellowe. Mitakuye. Waniktacha. Chewaki yellowe. Okay, thank you.
generation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David. And so David's right that tonight is not just all about celebrating his retirement. There is so much to celebrate. As much of a hard year as 2022 was, and a year of also accomplishments and joy, the joyful part is that we welcomed 3 new leaders, Latino, Latinx leaders, into the field who are CLIP members, and we want to just recognize each of them and just ask them to maybe say a few words. So we wanted to start with Mark Rodriguez. And Mark, when he was over at Changing Worlds, that's when we met, and so it was just pretty amazing when he kind of went radio silent for a while. We were trying to get together for lunch, and then it was like, oh, and by the way, I just got this job. So, as I said to him, he's mine.
Thanks, Yvette. So first and foremost, I want to thank CLIP for creating this professional community for all of us to gather here. It's important for us to be in community with one another and for us to have this space to do so. I'm honored, humbled, and thrilled to be joining the community with Dr. V and Andrea, who are just joining and being featured tonight, as well as the other chief executive leaders, David Pesqueira, Tony Martinez, my Boricua on the back, Michelle Morales. And for the first time ever, Latinx leaders will be guiding just under $4 billion in philanthropic assets in the Chicago region. Now, 3.5 of that might be under Andrea's leadership. You know, these numbers are just from the 2029 90s. You know, I didn't want to keep into account anything that's happening with the stock market. I thought I'd be safe and modest. But not only to mention that, if we think about the other program officers who have influence within their organizations to guide resources, maybe another 500 million to catch up to the 3.5 over the trust, maybe a little bit more. But if we just think about the ripple effect that those dollars can have in the Latinx communities. And I recognize those assets aren't solely devoted to the Latinx communities, but if we each made a concerted effort to just give 1%, or maybe 30%, just like 30% of the Chicago population is Latino, right? We can really help close the wealth gap, increase educational outcomes, break systemic barriers that advance generational poverty, and lift up a new generation of Latino leaders in all sectors of society. For me, my journey to philanthropy started over 15 years ago. And I think you might guess where it all started at. Right over here. A lunch conversation with David Pesqueira, who told me, you know, we have this philanthropy program that I'm working with the late Luis Delgado to start at Loyola University. I think you might be a good person to go into philanthropy. You know, I'm running a nonprofit. I got so many things to do here. I don't know what philanthropy is. I don't know how I'm going to get there. He said, no, let's talk. Maybe you should join this program. Maybe you should consider it, blah, blah, blah. So after a while, I looked into it and joined. And one of the first actual case studies we did was celebrating or understanding the Roosevelt Fund. And 15 years later, I'm working for descendants of the Roosevelt family leading their foundation. So, our roads lead back to you, David. I was supported by others, Yvette Cordona, Angel Seguiri, lots of other Doris, and lots of others in this space that have supported me. So I want to thank you all as well. As the first executive director of the Lohengrin Foundation, I bring to my work a lens for growing up of modest means in the little village community. One of the few Boricuas in that community. I was an honorary Mexican. Professionally, I bring direct service in the areas of international development, youth services. I did community organizing back in the early out of my career, arts and culture, and education. And while my experiences have crossed varied issue areas within the nonprofit sector, the things that kind of have stayed the same is what I call the 3C trifecta. It's about working in and with community. It's about working in collaboration. And it's about mustering up the courage to address the challenges, the racism, the subtle remarks that we experience as Latinos and people of color, where we're one of the few in the room. Carmen, you know this. And it's really about standing up and speaking out. How you do that? I've learned to do it more strategically now than I would have done 15, 20 years ago, trust me. But ultimately, I'm delighted to be here. I'm delighted to be in community. I'm grateful to David, to Yvette, and all the others who've helped me along my journey. And I'm grateful for all of you and being in community with each of you, and look forward to working in the community. So if I haven't had a chance to meet you, come up to me, love to learn more. And if I've met you already, thank you, and it's been a pleasure.
Next, I want to bring up Dr. V, I guess is the Dr. Venoncia Baté-Ambrus. And I've known Venoncia for many years. See her, at Ernest's retirement party, and I'm like, hey, what are you doing here? And then I look at the name tag, and it's like, incoming CEO of the, Northern Lake County Healthcare Foundation. I was like, damn, girl! Absolutely. So I'm so happy that you're here, and just wanted to invite you to say a few words.
Thank you so much, Yvette. And believe me, every day when I look in the mirror, I say, damn, girl! The spirit of full humility. I say it with full humility. I know that I stand on greatness. David, Soko, Yvette, Nan, everyone in the room. And I have to say, when I was first offered this opportunity, one of the first people to reach out to me was someone I'd worked with in the past as helping to develop community health worker promotora de salud programs. And she turned to me and she said, when I saw that it was you here in this position, it really made me feel like, look what a promotora can do. And I take that with full humility and full respect, because I know that it's a privilege for me to be here. It's a privilege for me to be here representing the communities that have such assets along with such needs. And it's a privilege for me to represent my ancestors, Black and brown, as an Afro-Latina. And so with that being said, I don't have very many words to offer today other than I look forward to being in companionship with you along this journey in philanthropy. I will look to each and every one of you for advice, for support, for wisdom, and if I can be that for you as well, you know how to find me. Please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you so much.
And even though I had asked Andrea to welcome us, I still wanted you to come up and say a few words, because she doesn't have access to the storage closet, we learned. And I'm like, you are the CEO, so how's it been? And welcome aboard. Right, the trust got it right.
Thank you so much, Yvette. I know I stand between us and a little more drink and a little more food, so I'm going to be brief as well. I don't want to repeat David's words of wisdom, everybody else's words. I just want to endorse them. I think there's so much that they've said that is in my heart too, about the importance of having this community and the joy that I feel at seeing the growth of this community. It really has been astronomical just in the last couple of years. And I'm happy to have finally been invited to one of David's many retirement parties. I'm due to get invited to one of these. I you're tearing about it. And it's so wonderful to celebrate David. And so just, I will say, in the spirit of really honoring David and what he has built and grown, I got to know David and Doris and others who have been in this work for a long time ago, before I'd even thought about philanthropy as a career path. And what I saw in them, I think really continues to guide what I think of as the way to do philanthropy right, which is they were peers, they were colleagues, they were partners, they were part of the community, they were problem solving with community, and they were lending their kind of advocacy skills to be able to get resources where they were needed, and they knew that they were needed because community leaders were saying that they were needed, right? And that for me is sort of like, they're the role model, and if we can just keep doing that over and over again, we are gonna get this right. So I just want to acknowledge that this is a really important moment to celebrate you, David, and that if it weren't for you, it doesn't sound like half the people in this room are here. And I also want to say, I do feel like the Chicago Community Trust, because we're a community foundation, has a responsibility to play a role in being inclusive, in being the place where people can feel like they can come together and get behind a shared vision. So it really makes me so happy and proud that we can physically host these gatherings. I want to make sure we continue to do that. And I feel like we're just getting started at learning at the Trust from this community of philanthropists, right? And I feel like I want to lean into figuring out how to do more of that, because there's so much wisdom in this room, there's so much experience in this room, and we need it at the Trust. I think every one of our institutions needs it, but I just want to say, if you can think of ways moving forward where we can really learn from the wisdom in this room, I'm really open to figuring out how to do that. And I am here to be supportive of all of you. So I want, one of the things that I've learned in my life and in my work life is what I've grown from the most is when I reach out to somebody who's doing work that I think is interesting or intriguing, and I reach out to them and they say, yes, I'll spend 15, 20 minutes with you and help you get a sense of what this is. So I've really taken that to heart, and I've done that to anyone who calls, right? So particularly for people who feel like they're just getting started in this work, if it would be helpful to you to spend 15, 20 minutes together and pick my brain and think about who else you should meet, I'm always willing to do that. And I feel like if we can make that commitment to one another, we're just growing this circle bigger and bigger, which we know it's grown big, but it's not big enough yet. So welcome. Let's enjoy some music, maybe, unless there's more to the program. Okay.
Or a few more minutes.
Okay.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you. I just love how I have connections with everybody who's come up today. So Cindy interned at Polk Brothers Foundation, also from the University of Chicago School of Service Administration, also known as the Crown Family School now. And that, so really glad that she was able to not just do the internship at Polk, but then went on to eventually make her way to the Julie and Grace Foundation, and is, to me, is really running it. But as I press,
Hey, professora. It's always going to be that for me. So I have the honor of doing gratitude for today, and I have so much to give for the gratitude. First of all, just thank you to everyone for being here today. Just applause for that to all of you. And I'm gonna walk as I do this because I forgot my glass, y'all. So, let me go catch that first, and then we'll go back. So thank you to all of you for being here today. I know it is super cold outside, but la calorcito de nuestra gente just makes this all happen, right? I also wanted to give a big thank you to Tony as our fiscal sponsor with and also to Hilda from HIP for supporting CLIP. Thank you so much. And then I also wanted to highlight our awesome planning committees. So first of all, I would love for our steering committee to please wave. And everybody applause for them. Thank you for the countless hours that you give to really build a vision and strategy for CLIP and building the work forward. I also want to invite our program and advocacy committee to wave. And applause to them as well. We're bringing a range of programming this year, everything from healing justice to learning spaces to thinking about advocacy and how we're going to use our collective voice to move our policy and advocacy work forward from our communities, right? And so next, I also want to thank our comms committee members. Hopefully, there's someone comms. Wait. Yes. Thank you. Communication is so important. It's important for us to have an arm that will be able to tell our story and to really frame our narrative and to document our history as well. So thank you so much for the work you do there. And also next is fundraising. All the money necessary to make all the parties happen. So thank you. Thank you to the fundraising committee. And so all these beautiful people who wave, please reach out to them if you have any questions about engaging with CLIP or joining one of these committees in the coming months. We are so excited to welcome you to the space and to have you become more engaged and feel the love of the community. And to say that for 2023, we'll have a lot of awesome programs that will, like I said, range from breaking bread to thinking about advocacy work to thinking about how to make our dollars more impactful collectively. So more to come on that. And I also now wanted to do our toast. So let me put this down, get my glass. This is why we had the announcement of everybody please have something in your glass to toast with. I love it. So I want to thank everybody and do that for all of the love that you bring to CLIP, to all of us collectively, to all of the commitments you have to the Latinx communities all over Chicago, and how you bring them with you every single day that you walk in your roles and in through CLIP. And also wishing you all health, joy, and love this holiday season. This is to us, to CLIP, to familia. Salud! Salud! All right, back to the MC event.
Again, thank you everybody, and please, Andrew, you're in charge here, so when do we have to leave?
We have an hour.
What? Okay, folks, you got 30 minutes.